A video then on the seventh and final circle theorem, this one known as the alternate segment theorem. The questions about the alternate segment theorem are pretty much all the same. So for this one we need 3 points on the circumference, and at one of those points I'm going to draw a tangent. So maybe I'll have this point here on the circumference, I'll put the tangent down there, and I'll have two other points on the circumference. They can be any way you like. So like I said, I would draw the tangent down here. I would like to make a triangle which uses all 3 points on this circumference. I'll show you what I mean. Like so. Now notice that the line here that connects the point with the tangent to one of the points on the circumference, this is a chord, because it goes from side to side but doesn't pass through the centre. And remember that a chord will split the circle into 2 segments, this over here being the minor segment and everything to the left of this chord being the major segment. Absolutely everything in here is the major segment. If I mark the angle here, the one that's in the minor segment, we call this the segment, then it turns out that this angle here is exactly the same size as this angle here in the other segment. And in fact, if this is the segment, we say this is the angle in the alternate segment. Okay, so a chord will split it into the segment and the alternate segment. And these 2 angles are the same size. It's a very, very curious one because you have to have a very specific setup. You need 3 points. One of those points has a tangent drawn, the other 2 don't. But you have this situation where when you connect the point with the tangent to another place on the circumference, for example this one here, that's a chord, that creates something called the segment, and then the other one is the alternate segment. The angle in the alternate segment is equal. And the name for this theorem is the alternate segment theorem. And now you might be thinking to yourself, why do we call this one the segment and the space on the left the alternate segment? We could have defined that differently if we wanted to. Now suppose instead I concentrate on this chord here, because this is also a chord. Right, that connects the point with the tangent to the other one on the circumference. So this is a chord, and you could say that creates 2 segments, a minor segment down here, and then everything sort of above and to the right, all of this stuff here, you could say is the other one, the alternate segment. There is an angle in this segment here. Okay, that's between the chord and the tangent, not between the chord and the edge of the circle. It goes to the flat line there. And it turns out that that does work. You can say that this here is the segment, and if this one down here is the segment, that means everything above and to the right here, all of this, is the alternate segment. And indeed, the angle in the alternate segment is equal to this one down here. So it's a very, very odd setup, but it's pretty easy to recognise because it's such a specific shape. It's highly forgettable. Right, whether you would recognise it instantly in an exam situation or not is another matter. But that's the alternate segment theorem. These 2 angles are the same, and these 2 angles are the same. In all of the other questions you've done so far, when you've worked out a missing angle using circle theorems and you give a reason, the reason has tended to look like an entire sentence, like angles in the same segment are equal, or angle at centre is twice the angle at the circumference. With this one, it's the only one with a name rather than a whole waffly sort of description. So if you use it, it's completely acceptable to say because the alternate segment theorem. You don't have to talk about the chord makes a segment and an alternate segment, and you don't have to describe it in great detail. You might say something like angle CDE is 50 degrees because alternate segment theorem. In fact, it's pretty common to even say because alt seg theorem, and they will know what you mean by that. Because alternate segment theorem, because alt seg, and that will score the mark, no problem at all.